Here in Berlin, one of the only Afro-German lawmakers in the Bundestag is stepping down weeks after revealing death threats against him. Karamba Diaby says he wants to spend more time with his family and make way for younger talent. In 2013, Diaby entered the German parliament on a wave of optimism, but his tenure has been overshadowed by racist attacks. DW met with him to talk about his groundbreaking career.
He was the first African-born MP to sit in the Bundestag, but Karamba Diaby's political career has since been beset by racist attacks and death threats. Now he's moving on to spend more time with family. He insists the extremists have not won.
No, that's exactly what the other side expects. That you're tired, that you're intimidated. I can only repeat that I will not be intimidated, because I know that the vast majority of people support me.
In 2020, unknown attackers shot at Diaby's office in the eastern German city of Halle. Last month, he published a chilling death threat sent to him. "Everyone hates you and wants to see you burn," it read. And, quote, "You're all going to end up hanging from a lamppost."
If we don't publish it, the investigating authorities can't do their job. That's why I published this. And this case is really depressing, because my team was also blackmailed and threatened.
He's not alone. Across Germany, politically motivated crimes have doubled in the last decade. But it is scenes like these mass protests against the far right earlier this year that offer him hope.
The small group of people in this country who spread hatred and incitement, these people exist. The group is a small group. They are loud, they are present, but you have to realize that the vast majority of our society is open-minded and tolerant. And the vast majority are fighting for cohesion in our society.
Colleagues across Parliament have paid tribute to his contributions and say his departure should be a wake-up call.
I really regret that he's retreating. We need his voice.
We need to think about changing this climate in our country, and it certainly won't be changed by aggressive language.
The centre-left politician says part of the reason he's stepping down is to make space for the next generation.
I appeal to these younger people to join the parties, join the trade unions, get involved and really participate in the elections.
He's not quite finished. He will officially stand down at the next election in late 2025. Plenty of time then to make a difference and reflect on the state of German democracy.
Let's get more on this now from our political correspondent, Matthew Moore, who filed that report. Matthew, Diaby himself says his decision not to run for office again was not prompted by the racism he's been facing. What do you make of that?
That's right, Terry. Karamba Diaby was really keen to stress that racism wasn't the prime reason for this decision. He says that, when he finishes his term in office, he'll be 64. He had a conversation with his family and they decided that this was the time to move on and to pass the baton on to the next generation. But really hard, when you look at his story, not to be left with a sense that he's been kind of hounded out of office by racists. His time in office has been kind of marred by these attacks over the years, and it's really grown in hostility in the last few years. But he says that the message that he wants to send to people is not that the racist hasn't won, and essentially that people should get involved in politics. Don't shy away at this stage. Don't be cowed by the stories like his, but really get involved with unions, get involved with elections, and make your voice heard. And he says that it's really important that we don't let the racists win. And he also says that he gets a lot of support, as well as the hate mail and the death threats. He gets a lot of support from the wider public in Germany and show of solidarity. So he wants to make the point that they're not in the majority.
What kind of message does Karamba Diaby's case send to people facing similar discrimination in Germany, Matthew?
Yeah, Terry, his story, basically, his election was really meant to kind of herald in a new Germany, a Germany that was comfortable in itself, comfortable with multiculturalism, comfortable with immigration, and a Germany and a politics and a parliament here in Berlin that really reflected Germany as a whole. Unfortunately, we have seen in Germany in the last few years a really kind of a rise in hostility towards politicians. He has been the brunt of that as well. We've seen a kind of switch from verbal attacks on politicians that have become more violent in recent years. And people here in Berlin, when he announced his decision, they said that this really should be a wake-up call. This should be a moment for us to reflect on, to dial down the rhetoric so that we have a politics and a civil discourse where people feel that they can get more involved.
What are the implications of this, Matthew, for diversity in German politics?
Yeah, there are real concerns about that, Terry, because Karamba Diaby is one of just a handful of black MPs in the Bundestag. And when you look at the Bundestag as a whole, there's about 11% of the politicians in there have come from what we call here in Germany a Migrationshintergrund. They have roots, ethnic minority roots, if you like. And essentially, that's way below the wider public. Wider public is something like 30%. So there is a kind of lack of diversity at the top of German politics, and the fear really is that stories like Karamba Diaby's of someone who's leaving politics, that sends a wrong message, and it's a blow to diversity. Now, it has to be said, there will be an election at the end of next year, and we'll get to see really how diverse the next Bundestag is.
Matthew, thank you very much for your reporting. That was DW's Matthew Moore.